Hello, Mike here, and I'm creating a very simple relaxation session today with the Neuro Programmer 3, which is a brainwave entrainment software. Down here in the bottom, I click this icon. Today I'll create a session in alpha. The alpha range frequencies are between 8 Hz and 12 Hz. I'll find a low frequency tone as a base after running a few test tracks and picking a tone that's very, very low but still audible. So let me start by clicking up here in the top left, File, then selecting New Session. This opens a bunch of templates. I'll select this blank session and click OK. Now I'll add a binaural beat track with insert binaural beat track, and this opens up a track with two default nodes, and I need to set the properties on these two nodes, 1 and 2. Now by clicking this node here, it opens up a box for properties to be set, and properties are things like the brainwave frequency, the volume, the time, and pitch. Now right now it's at a brainwave of 15. I want to bring that down to 0. Over here it's at 15. 0 would be way down the bottom here, so when I click OK, this node drops way down to the bottom. But I'll bring the volume up maximum. Minutes is at 0, so it starts at the beginning. I don't need the software to optimize anything, so I'll uncheck this and bring this to 0 Hertz. So when I hit OK, this node drops down. And so the next thing to do is change the properties on node 2. Click that. This is at brainwave 10, so along here this is 10. So I'm also going to bring this down to 0 and bring the volume up to 100%. Now I only want a 1-minute test, so I'm going to change this to 1 minute. And my pitch, I know what that is, so I don't need the software to optimize anything. It's going to go to 150 Hertz. So from 0 to 150, when I hit OK, this node is going to drop way down over to here. You can barely see it because it's on a 30-minute scale. So let me click OK and show you this node drop way down to the bottom. And so now I can zoom in to the session length. Okay, so now let me zoom into the session length way down over here in the bottom right. The session length is 30 minutes, and my two nodes are still over here. You can barely see them. This one's at 1 minute. So the next thing I need to do is adjust the session length down to something a little bit over 1. So when I change my session length, this node here will shift way over to the right. Now to change the session length, I click this box down here, change session length, and it opens up to an option, and I'm gonna change it to 1.25 as in minutes. So this node once again will shift way over to the right, and here it is. Let me zoom in again. So down in the bottom right, my session length changed. Let me zoom in to 115. That's what I set it at. Just above is my second node on 1 minute, and 1.25 minutes is out here at the end. Now this choice of 1.25 makes these line segments evenly spaced. Every other little line segment here is 0.1 minutes. So now I can lay nodes down in some type of quick, evenly spaced order that makes it much easier to place nodes down. This would be 1 minute if I wanted 1.1, 1.2, and the end would be 1.25. So now let's go back to track 1. So on this track 1 I have two nodes. Node 1 here set at 0 hertz pitch out to 1 minute out at 1 minute. This node 2 has a pitch set at 150 hertz. Now when I hit play, the tone will increase from 0 to 150. You really need headphones for this. With a laptop, you may not even be able to hear this. You may think there's something wrong. With laptop internal speakers, that's what happened to me. First I set node 2 to 100 hertz and couldn't hear anything, and later I found out it's because, one, I need headphones, and that's because the laptop I can't hear much below 100 hertz anyway. So I just, for this test, I'm going to use 150 out to here. And so the idea is really, when I hit play, count which line segment I'm at with my headphones on and the headphones up full volume, which line segment I'm at when I can begin to hear this pitch. And I'll use that to calculate what frequency I'm at. So what I'm going to do is stop, rewind this, and once again try to listen with headphone volume all the way up, although I'll have to mute the microphone because this little gargle noises get picked up. So what line segment, when I hit play, do I finally start to hear the sound? Okay, there it was. It started to really hear it around 2.5, but I'm going to use 4 in my calculations. Okay, so I have 4 as the number of line segments out. So now I want to calculate what frequency it is. Now my range from node 1 to node 2 is 150 hertz. So I'm going to divide my range by the number of line segments in between these two, and that was 20. So 150 divided by my 20 means each individual line segment here is 7.5 hertz. So if I started to hear this at around the 4th line segment, then what I multiply this 7.5 hertz is by times 4, and that tells me that somewhere around the 4th line segment was 30 hertz, and that gives me the information I need to go on to the next track. Okay, so I have my 30 hertz, and I want to add another track. Insert, I'm going to beat track. This would be track 2, and I just want to tweak in a little bit closer. It gives me the 2 nodes, 1 and 2, same placement as the previous track, and I want to drill down a little closer as to what was that audible range frequency. Still with the brainwave at 0, volume all the way up, starting at the beginning in terms of time, but in terms of pitch, I want something a little below that 30 hertz that I just found. 15 is below. And the node 2, clicking that, leaving brainwave at 0. If brainwave was a little bit higher, it would raise it off this axis so it's easier to see. But for simplicity, I'm keeping it at 0. And also this test, a 1-minute test, and from my previous track I found 30, so I want to go a little bit higher, plus or minus something over, with 30 in the center. So I'll use 40. So now my two nodes, when I click play, it'll go from 15 hertz to 40 hertz out here. Okay, so before I hit play, I want to solo this and make sure the other track is muted. Now stop and rewind. And the idea is to determine what line segment I'm at so I can calculate the frequency. When I hit play, where does the audible tone or pitch come in? What line segment am I at? So stop, rewind, play, and mute on microphone. Okay, I'm going to go with the ninth line segment. It might have started around 7, but 9 is good enough. So now I want to calculate what frequency that was at. Now my pitch was going from 15 to 40, so what's the difference? And that would be the range. So 40 minus 15 is equal to, so the range is 25 hertz, and there's still 20 line segments between those two nodes. So my 25 divided by my 20 line segments means each line segment is an increase in 1.25 hertz. So I figured 9 was a good number. So multiply that by 9, and 11.25 hertz in that range. But I didn't start at 0, I started 15, so I need to add that 15 plus 15 is equal to, so around 26.25 is where I can begin to hear this sound. Of course, that's with my $20 Logitech headphones and my G505 laptop. So now 26.5. If that's minimum audible, I want something a little bit higher than that. Maybe go up 10 to 36, or just kind of like round off to 35. So I can use 35 hertz as my base pitch for my relaxation session. So that's what I'll use, is 35 hertz, and go down and begin track 3. So closing this up a little bit and moving on to insert monaural beat track, and that would be track 3. I can change the node properties finally into an alpha range, 12 hertz, for example, this will now come up. We can finally start to see the node, and maximum volume starting at 0, and a 35 hertz pitch from the previous track, and that'll go all the way across. So my node, we can see, is at 12, and now time to change this one. Click this, also a brainwave of 12, volume up to max. Let's see, the 1 minute, it's going to go out to 1 minute, so I'll leave that, and the pitch, once again, 35 hertz all the way across. So this is what that looks like, 1 minute from here, 35 hertz, out to here, 35 hertz, and play this. But first, solo, mute, stop, and rewind. Okay, so play, and I'll have to mute this microphone. This is just to listen to what 35 hertz in alpha sounds like. You might be able to hear the pulsing of the 12 hertz, 35 hertz pulsing at 12 hertz. Okay, so that's great, and I want to create another track where the pulsing changes from 12 hertz down to 8 hertz up to 12 hertz, just a little bit more alternating in the alpha range. Okay, so I'll add my next track, insert binaural beat, here it is. And there's two nodes, one here, but in order to make these this alternation, I need to add more. So with my node placer tool, this little selector with a little circle on top, I'll come down to the 0.1 here, add a node, 0.1 here, add a node, and just add nodes around the 0.1 line segments, every other line segment, till I come out to my minute mark, or minute node. And so there it is. Now to release this placer, this node placer, I'll click this pointer. So what I'm going to do here is select each node and change the properties to what I need. So I want to use brainwave or alpha range frequency, so 12 of brainwave, and the volume all the way up. Start it, keep it at 0 at the beginning. The pitch is going to be, I know what that is now, it's my 35 hertz, and so I went up to brainwave alpha, so that shows. And my second node, I really only want to come down to 8 hertz, so that's the lower range of alpha. This is great at 0.1 and 35 hertz. And so this third node comes up to 12, volume all the way up. I place that nicely, 35 hertz. Okay, so here we go, and down to 8 hertz, maximum volume. I place that nicely at an even 0.1, or 0.3, so 35 hertz. Okay, so I'll finish the rest off screen. Okay, so I'm going to save the last one to do live here, and this is at the 1 minute mark. Now I'll go up in brainwave, and up in volume. Now the pitch was at 35 all the way across for this whole thing. In this case, I'm going to bring the pitch down to 0, so it fades out at 1 minute. So once again, it shows as like there's an increase. It's not a volume increase. As a matter of fact, let me click. So the volume is max here and the volume is max here, but the pitch is 35 on this node here. I'm clicked, and the pitch is, I guess I have to release this, and the pitch is 0 on this node. So the pitch actually goes down while it shows this brainwave frequency line going up. So what happens is it's almost as if the volume shuts off. The pitch goes from 35, which is audible, down to 0, which is inaudible. So let me play this, stop, rewind. This would be solo this, mute this, everything's muted, and we can just listen to this. Pitch increases 12 hertz, 12 pulses per second, decreases 8 pulses per second, increases. Now decreases down to here. Now at this node, it quickly fades out, 35 to 0 hertz. Okay, so that's good for this track, and the next one I want to do is add some nature sound, background sounds. Okay, so I have my alpha brainwave track here with a bass pitch of 35 hertz. Now I want to insert a nature sound, so from insert, add sound file, it opens up a box where I can select nature sounds. I'll pick this first one, Babbling Brook. Open that. Down in the bottom I have my green track of nature sounds. That's the Babbling Brook with 2 nodes, node 2 way out here, and I'll change the properties. Node 1, I'll click that. The brainwave frequency, bring it into the alpha range of 12 with 12 and 100% down to way down. I want the volume on this way down, like 3% is good, even lower, but I'll leave it at 3%. Minutes the same, amplitude modulation intensity, don't touch that. Click OK. That's node 1. Moving on to node 2, open this up, and I'll give it a brainwave of 8 hertz and the volume way down to 3%. Leave everything else the same. This will be 1 minute. Click OK, and there it is. And so I can play this. Let me mute everything and play this on solo. Stop, rewind, and listen to it for a few seconds here. Okay, so that's nice. So now I want to play them both. Okay, so now I'd like to play these last 2 tracks together. So I'll remove the mute on just these last 2 tracks and stop and rewind. Now when I hit play, this will play my 35 hertz tone pulsing between 8 and 12 hertz and then fade out at the end, and my volume on the Babbling Brook is very, very low. So let's take a listen for a minute. So if I wanted to save this file to play later, I would like to save it as perhaps an MP3. So up in the top file, I need to export this to, and I'll give it a name, something like, well, Alpha Relax 1 minute, Alpha Relax 1M. So I'm going to export it, and then over here it's MP3. I'm going to export it to an MP3 and save it to the desktop. So click that, and so now it's exporting my session to the desktop as an MP3 file. So it's 1 minute, so it's not really taking that long. There it is, export complete, and I'll go to find it over here on my desktop right there. So I'll just open it with Windows Media. There are pops. So what I'll do is, like I say, create a 20-minute session without my screen capture, and it should be a nice clean session without pops. So after you create your recordings and it's finally time to relax and listen to your masterpiece, you can try using your headphones, or there's a type of headphone that has flat speakers built in. It's called sleep phones, and I'll leave a link to that, and they're great. And you know, if you're going to lay down and close your eyes, you can listen while pulling the band down over your eyes to block out the light. It's a headband with flat speakers built in. Sometimes it's nice to listen when you're not at home, maybe on break at work, in the parking lot, or you found a quiet spot in the park and have time for a quick meditation session. So with the Neuroprogrammer software, you create your own brainwave entrainment and you listen to it with your sleep phones. So thank you for watching this video, and be sure to download my 20-minute session.